pray. Father, please help us today as we study photosynthesis. We're going to hear a lot of things. Some of them are very contrary to your truth of Scripture, Lord. Things that will deny your existence and your beautiful mind and plan in all of creation. Father, I pray that you help us to see through those things, to be in awe of the opposite of the truth, that we in all of creation are fearfully and wonderfully made. Help us to walk away today from photosynthesis to understand that these things cannot just happen. They cannot just evolve, Father, but if you didn't put each and every molecule perfectly in its place, life does not happen. And it's that simple. Life and death, they're in your hands. Beyond that, help us to understand these things. Help me to be clear and concise. Help our students to listen and the humility to ask questions when they need to. We pray this in Jesus' name. All right, so we're going to start photosynthesis today, okay? In many ways, not all, but in many ways, photosynthesis is the opposite of respiration, right? So, respiration, let's start with this. What's the formula for respiration? We've learned. That's going to be on one part of it. Yeah, so we got a C6, H12O6 plus 6 O2s. When in doubt, put a 6, right?
Yeah.
And what does that produce?
6 CO2
6 CO2
plus 6 H2
plus 6 H2. Okay. So our energy source, our primary energy source here is glucose, right? This is a big energy yielding molecule. Where is the energy in glucose? Come on, y'all.
the bond.
In the bonds, okay? I want to liberate that energy in the bonds. What's the ultimate product, energy product at the end of respiration? It's actually not up here. ATP, right? We're going to make ATP. That's the whole reason your body does this, is to generate ATP. Hopefully, a whole lot of it. Okay. To do that, I've got to steal electrons out. You guys remember that? They come away in NADH and in FADH2, and they get transferred over here, right? Ultimately, they're going to get stored in here. Well, the opposite is going to be true in photosynthesis. We're going to take electrons from water, and we're going to store them in this. So think about that for a minute. In many ways, like I said, they're opposite reactions. We will use glucose to make ATP and NADH. We'll store those electrons of NADH in water, and we'll produce ATP. In photosynthesis, you make ATP, you steal electrons from water, and you store them both in glucose. In respiration, you need to add oxygen at the end of that electron transport chain. You okay? You look like you're going to fall out on me in a second. We went to a function, I guess it was just last Friday, and they had like a hay ride thing, and it was pretty late when we did it. So I had my 4 kids, including the baby. He was excited kind of to go or whatever. Then very quickly into it, he just gets exhausted. He just like crawls up on my shoulder and falls asleep. So I get back, and all the men took the kids, and all the women stayed back. And I was talking to my wife, and I go, man, this guy fell out. 9 men fell asleep, but we just went on a hayride, and so all the women went, he fell out. It's funny at the time. So y'all don't care. Just quit talking about your kids and do chemistry. Okay, let me redraw this right here. C6H12O6 plus 6O2 yields 6 CO2 plus 6H2O. Okay, I'm gonna do this with an arrow going both ways, okay? Because we're gonna do it like this. If I'm doing respiration, okay, this is gonna be the respiration side down here. I'm gonna do it in everything down here in purple, okay? It's gonna be respiration. Then what I'm gonna do here, right, is I'm gonna steal electrons and I'm ultimately gonna put them into H2O, right? So I've got some electrons, I need to put them into NADH, I also need to put them into FADH2, right? And I'm going to store them, I'm going to put them over here, okay? Boom. All right? And I'm going to take, my whole purpose in all of this is I'm going to take the energy from here, I'm going to make ATP, right? Of course, in the process, as I strip electrons, I'm going to produce CO2. I need O2 in the end of my electron transport chain. I'm going to write ETC, right? ETC. Okay? Okay. This side, of course, is respiration. In many, many ways, photosynthesis is the opposite of this. Okay? This is in respiration, the arrow goes this way. Photosynthesis, the arrow goes this way. Okay? In photosynthesis, I'm going to take the electrons of water. Okay? And I'm going to store them temporarily. I'm going to move them in a molecule called, it's very close, but it's not the same, NADPH. Now, I don't need you to know what NADPH, all the things mean, any more than I did this. You do need to recognize two things here, okay? One, there's no FADH2 happening in photosynthesis. Okay. Number two, this is NADH, this is NADPH. You don't have to know what the P means, just think of it as photosynthesis. The photosynthesis has the P, the respiration does not. Now I'm telling you something brilliant to help you. Don't lose this. The difference between these two molecules is the P. Which one has the P? Photosynthesis. Don't lose that, okay? You're going to forget about this moment, but if you think hard enough on it right now, it's going to come back to you later, okay? And then where will I store my electrons ultimately?
In the glucose?
In the glucose. Remember, these are opposite reactions. So here I stole from, I wish, you know, let me redraw this. Because I meant to do this anyways. Okay, good. And over here, I'm going to make ATP. And I'm going to store it. I'm going to use it to make glucose. Hopefully you'll remember that there's a close relationship between the oxygen and the water, right? In respiration, the electron transport chain is used to split oxygen, combine it with hydrogen ions, and make water. It's the opposite in photosynthesis. We split water and release oxygen. We kind of do this. Okay? And here is the opposite. Okay? It is really remarkable how much these are inverses of each other. Ooh, it's warm in here. Yeah.
It's cold outside.
You're rocking out to one direction right now, aren't you? For you to tell me the truth. I'm not even mad at you, but I will if you're lying to me. I don't think it's the temperature that's making you sweat. I think it's your guilty conscience. All right. Is this clear as mud? Think about that, right? Mud's not clear. I can't see through mud, and I can't see that either. Okay. Let's start with some basics. Where is the energy at to power respiration? You answered a question I did not ask. It's a good answer to a question I did not ask. The power for respiration, the energy for respiration, where is it? Huh? No. It's in glucose. It's in glucose. It comes from glucose. Where's it at in glucose? It's in the bonds. Good. When I split glucose, I'm going to make two things. What are they? Well, you're right. You're right. I'm going to make two things. I should have asked a better way. I'm going to make two things that have energy in them. ATP and, look up there. NADH, right? They're taking the electrons, right? And yes on the pyruvates. That's very good. Okay. So I immediately produce some ATP, and of course I'm storing some electrons in NADH, right? Which is just used to make more ATP. All right. I take those NADHs to power an electron transport chain. And in that electron transport chain, I have to have something to receive that final electron at the end of it all, right? What molecule receives it and what's made? Can you see it? And you can look up here. This will show you. Huh?
H2O.
H2O is the final product, right? I split oxygen, add to, okay, at a molecular level, this is what happens. I take O2, okay, and I split it into two oxygen molecules. And so here's my oxygen molecule. It's just hanging out. It's a little sad. Okay? It just picked up an extra electron. It needed something to do with it, and it lost its buddy. But there's also all these hydrogen ions hanging around all over the place. Right? They're ready to bond. And turn that frown upside down. So you literally split water into two oxygen atoms with electrons, and you add two of these free hydronium ions that are just floating all around, and you make water. That's what happens in the last step of the electron transport chain. And the opposite of that is one of the first steps of the electron transport chain, photosynthesis. They're inverses of each other. Okay? Should I just show you like a big overview video of respiration or photosynthesis for a minute? You want to ask questions? You want me to ask questions? What's going to help you right now? Do a video? Okay. Let's do that. Let's do this one. He's a little much, but his stuff's good.
Photosynthesis. It is not some kind of abstract scientific thing. You would be dead without plants and their magical, nay, scientific ability to convert sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water into glucose and pure, delicious oxygen. This happens exclusively through photosynthesis, a process that was developed 450 million years ago and actually rather efficient and confusing, but you are committed to having a better, deeper understanding of our world, or more probably you'd like to do well on your test, so let's delve. Reactions in photosynthesis, the light-dependent reactions and the light-independent reactions, and you've probably already figured out the difference between those two, so that's nice. The light-independent reactions are called the Calvin cycle. Yes, that Calvin cycle. Photosynthesis is basically respiration in reverse, and we've already covered respiration, so maybe you should just go watch that video backwards. Or you could keep watching this one. Either way, I've already talked about what photosynthesis needs in order to work: water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. So how do they get those things? First, water. Let's assume that we're talking about a vascular plant here. That's the kind of plant that has pipe-like tissues that
All right. That was a lot. Come back with me. Arise. All right. Photosynthesis. Who does it? Plants. Are they the only ones? No. No. They're just, plants do it. Plenty of bacteria do it. It's called protists that we haven't talked about yet. There's a new one, but it's coming, especially second semester. Lots of things do it. Okay? Why do they do it?
To make a food.
Make energy. Yeah, store energy of the sun in food, right? The energy is stored in the bonds. True or false? Glucose is the only thing that can be made from photosynthesis. False. But we're using it as a model, it's very convenient. Okay? The energy from glucose, or in glucose, comes ultimately from what source? That's good, but what power, what gives the energy for ATP?
Water.
No. This is a very important question. It's good to struggle with it just a little bit. What powers photosynthesis? Think about the word photosynthesis. The sun. Photons from the sun. If you said it, I didn't hear it. I'm
No,
sorry.
I was mumbling.
Okay.
I didn't want to be wrong.
Fair enough. Why? Who cares? I'm wrong a lot. I don't let it faze me. So photo, the word photo, like photon, right? Photons are individual particles of light, and they come in so fast with so much energy, and they hit this special molecule in all this called chlorophyll. You've heard of chlorophyll, right? They hit the chlorophyll and they okay, because they have so much energy. I used to do this when I taught high school. So I'd take a little bag of chips, like, you know, the kind you buy at the store for like $1 or whatever, the little bag that's kind of silvery on, Mylar bags that's silver on the inside. Those have a thin coating of metal. And I'd put them in the microwave, which probably doesn't sound like a good idea, right? So a microwave has photons. Microwaves are light. So they're low energy light, but you're shooting a lot of them. So when you turn on a microwave, all you're doing to your food is you're shooting light into it, and it's hitting those food and it's adding the energy from the light to excite those molecules, and they heat up, right? That you can feel the energy of the light ultimately in the food in the form of heat. In photosynthesis, the energy from the light gets translated into all this kind of stuff. But where I'm going with this, and why I'm talking about the microwave and all this, is because when you shoot light onto something, it kicks off electrons. It's called the photoelectric effect. Einstein discovered it. It's actually what he won the Nobel Prize for. It wasn't his theory of relativity and all that. That's fascinating. He found that if you have certain wavelengths of light, they'll kick off electrons at different energies. So here's why I'm going back. Let me go back to the microwave. So I'd stick this bag in. The bag's got metal, right? What happens when you put metal in the microwave?
Oh, the spark.
Right? And so literally, when you shoot light in the microwave at this little Mylar bag, you generate electricity. You can see those electrons getting kicked off. That's what's happening here. And also another really fun, cool thing is that Mylar bag that maybe was like this, it shrinks down to about like that. But you can still read, like if the Cheeto, I still remember the Cheetos bags, you can still read Cheetos on it. But it just shrinks down like a movie that you probably haven't seen called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. But anyway. Yeah. Okay. So he probably stuck them all in. Are you messing with me?
No, I'm being serious.
Okay, but you're doing it like you're messing with me. So I don't trust you right now.
I've seen them before.
So you listen to One Direction. So, literally, when you do photosynthesis, the first thing that happens is light hits chlorophyll. What color is chlorophyll going to be?
Green.
Green. It's chlorophyll and it kicks off an electron. That starts the whole thing. Now, chlorophyll lost an electron. Where am I going to get an electron from? H2O. It's going to split the water. That's where my oxygen gas is going to come from the splitting of water. It's the opposite of this. You take these, you split them, you make that. And you produce hydronium ions. Hydronium ions, we know, ultimately will be used to power an electron transport chain. They'll move through ATP synthase, and that will power the production of ATP. Another thing happens here is that electron moves. It's called the electron what chain? Transported. So it's got to get transported. Now in respiration, those electrons were transported through molecules. They were brought in here, right? And then they got transported along the chain. It's the opposite in photosynthesis. They get excited by light and stripped from water, and they move down that electron transport chain, and they ultimately will get stored in NADPH at the end of the electron transport chain. Okay, let's talk about this, a big overview of photosynthesis, okay? Okay. Divided photosynthesis up into two parts. What were the two parts? Do you remember?
The light one and the dark one.
The light one and the dark one. So light reactions and the dark reactions, or the light independent reactions. Okay, good. Obviously the difference is whether or not it requires light. Light powers the light reactions. ATP powers the dark reactions. The light reactions have, what do they have? What was the feature of the light reactions? Things moving, saw things happening, there was chlorophyll, there was NADPH, there was water, there was oxygen, there was ATP synthase, there was hydronium ions, there was ATP made. What's that whole thing called? Electron transport chain. The electron transport chain was, let's say, for our purposes, it was made up of 3 steps, 3 stops. You want to tell me the first, second, or the last stop on our electron transport chain? ATP synthase. Then we have 2 things that they called systems. Systems for capturing light. They're called photosystems. There's a photosystem 1 and there's a photosystem 2, and they're backwards, just by coincidence. So the first stop is photosystem 1. I'm going to call it PS1. That stands for photosystem 1. And our second one is I said that wrong, but it's PS2. Our first stop is PS2. Our second stop is PS1. Now, it's not photosystem 2 and then photosystem 1 because anyone was trying to confuse you. They didn't know that photosystem 1 existed. First thing that was discovered was photosystem 2. And everybody knew about it and everybody talked about it. And then they discovered photosystem 1, and they discovered that in the order of operations, things are actually hitting photosystem 2 before they were hitting photosystem 1. It's like, oh, we got this back. Okay, we're not going to rename it. We're just going to confuse students forever and put 2 ahead of 1. So it's 2, 1, ATP synthase for the order of operations, okay? All right. dark reactions. They're also commonly referred to as the Calvin cycle. Out of here, there's something that's made over here that's needed over here. What are the two things made over here that are needed over there? ATP and NADPH. Okay. These things are made over here. Put in over here. Where do I put my electrons? Ultimately. Molecule.
Oxygen?
No. Glucose. Where do I get the carbon for glucose from?
602?
Yeah. No. Yes. I'm sorry. You said that right. So one of the things that happens in the Calvin cycle is we do what's called carbon fixation. It means we actually capture carbon and attach it to stuff, okay? So in the Calvin cycle, we do carbon fixation. Just means we capture CO2. Okay? We have the energy of ATP, the electrons and the hydrogens of NADPH, and we produce glucose. Over here, down here, write it in another color. We do CO2s. We do H pluses, and we do electrons, right? Do all this, and you get glucose, which is not green, so I won't draw it in green. Draw it in blue. Forgot something. What'd I forget? CO2s, H pluses, electrons, those are good. What'd I forget? What's going to power this? ATP. Okay.
Might hurt. Swollen.
Alright, let's watch some little more in-depth stuff, okay?
welcome back to be with something awesome.
Bill, that's a lot of message way over Jones's head using some technical jargon.
Oh, and Jones
In photosynthesis, light is used to make organic compounds, especially sugars, in plants. This is extremely important for virtually all life on Earth, because these organic compounds are what we eat. So how does this process work? In short, when light strikes a leaf, this light is absorbed and the light energy is used to drive a series of chemical reactions that ultimately make sugars and other organic molecules. Overall, carbon dioxide and water are taken in by the plant and used to make glucose and oxygen gas. Photosynthesis can be divided into two sets of reactions. One, the light-dependent reactions, and two, the Calvin cycle. The light-dependent reactions, as you might have guessed, depend on light. To understand how these work, let's zoom in on a leaf so we can see them happen. Leaves are made of plant cells, and inside of these cells are special organelles called chloroplasts that do photosynthesis. Each chloroplast has many discs called thylakoids with pigments, like chlorophyll, that absorb light. Think of thylakoids as solar panels in the chloroplast. They absorb the light energy from the sun. Now let's zoom in on the thylakoid and focus on the thylakoid membrane. This is where pigments such as chlorophyll are found and is where light gets absorbed. The pigments are arranged in clusters called photosystems. Let's start with photosystem 2. When photosystem 2 absorbs light, electrons in chlorophyll gain energy or get excited from the light. These excited electrons leave chlorophyll and move to something called an electron transport chain. But since chlorophyll lost those electrons, they need to be replaced. To replace them, water is split and its electrons go to chlorophyll. When water is split, electrons, hydrogen ions, and oxygen are produced. You probably know that plants make oxygen when they do photosynthesis. This is where that oxygen comes from. Now, back to the electron transport chain. The electron transport chain transports electrons. As it does, the energy in the electrons is used to pump hydrogen ions, or protons, across the thylakoid membrane into the thylakoid. This creates a high concentration of hydrogen ions inside the thylakoid. These ions would be trapped inside the thylakoid, but a special enzyme called ATP synthase allows them to passively diffuse from high to low concentration. This flow of hydrogen ions through ATP synthase causes ATP synthase to spin and produce ATP, similar to how water flowing through a turbine produces power at a hydroelectric dam. This ATP is a key product of the light-dependent reactions. When the electrons reach the end of this first electron transport chain, they go to photosystem 1, where light excites them once again. They travel down a second, shorter electron transport chain, where they are accepted by a molecule called NADP+. When it accepts the electrons, it also accepts hydrogen and becomes NADPH. NADPH is an electron carrier and is another key product of the light-dependent reactions. It carries electrons and hydrogens to the next set of reactions in photosynthesis, the Calvin cycle. Both ATP and NADPH are critical products of the light-dependent reactions that are needed to make sugar in the Calvin cycle, which we will examine in our next video. If you'd like to try the light-dependent reactions yourself, check out the link for the Photosynthesis Interactive at Bioman Biology, and don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to be notified when I release a new video.
Let's go here. All right, let's draw. Okay. Start with a big kind of overview. Let's do a plant cell. What did I just draw? What part of the plant cell did I just draw?
So,
Cell wall. A membrane, or I don't have a cell at all, right? Now, I'm concerned in particular with which organelle? Nope. Chloroplast. Now, the space inside of these chlorophylls, I'm going to draw blue, okay? Maybe I should have drawn them yellow, but you wouldn't be able to see it if I did. It's called the lumen. The space outside of these thylakoids, between the thylakoids and the membrane of the chloroplast, that's called the stroma. One thing that's key about the lumen is I'm going to build an H+ ion concentration in there, okay? Now I'm going to draw for you the membrane surface of a thylakoid. Here's one more thing. Thylakoid. So essentially I'm drawing an electron transport chain, right? What's this made of?
So, phospholipids.
Phospholipid bilayer, very good. Okay. So we've got this first one, this first molecule. What color is it?
Green.
Green. Why is it green?
Because it's got chlorophyll.
It's got chlorophyll, right? Then I've got a little carrier molecule. We're used to that idea. We've seen that before. Then I've got this large purple molecule. What's this guy's job?
Transport to move
Transports what?
electrons,
Electrons. What's this guy's job? Let's get to him.
pellets, hydrogens,
He pumps hydrogen ions. Which way?
and
In. Right, so this is my stroma out here. This is my lumen in here. Right? So this is my blue space on that drawing. And his whole job is to pump any H+ ions in. As he does that, he also moves this electron. The electron goes to another mobile carrier. I'm going to put my electron here also, okay? Put another electron here, right? And now, I'm going to go to another one of these. What color is this going to be? Green, because it has chlorophyll. Okay. From here, I'm going to get one more mobile carrier. this next one. Here, we're going to make NADPH. To make NADPH, I had to bring in NADP plus. And an H plus, right? Brought those in, combined it with an electron for the electron transport chain, and I made NADPH. Okay? So think about our electron. Where do our electron come from?
Where?
Water. So over here, I had to take water. I had to split it. Right? I had to make oxygen gas. I had to make a bunch of H pluses. Okay? All this matters because when I get to the end of my electron transport chain, I've got this molecule here. And it's going to produce ATP. Okay, so this is the thylakoid membrane. Remember my electrons are gonna, sorry, I probably should have drawn an electron in there. It's gonna get excited, it's going to travel through this electron transport chain until it ultimately winds up in NADPH. Those electrons that are lost will be replaced by the splitting of water. It's gonna produce oxygen gas and hydronium ions. I'm gonna get a big old hydronium ion concentration down here, right? I mean, because every time I split water, I make 2 more hydronium ions, right? That's a lot. Every single time. So I'm naturally going to be stacking them up down here. But not only that, I'm going to be pumping them through. So not only do I put them here, I pump them here. That's going to leave me with very few over here. They want to move down their concentration gradient. This is simple diffusion. They want to move from areas of high to low concentration. I've made it so they can't until they reach here, ATP synthase. Then these have a means of flowing through, but we use the energy of them flowing through to turn ATP synthase and generate ATP. Okay? This is that, right? If you want to give something names, and I think we should, there are 3 things we need to know. What are they? Which one? All right? PS1 is from, okay.
What part is wet in the top one? You should, like, where's the line pointing?
The lumen is pointing to the blue. I color coded it blue. So it's the blue is inside those thylakoids.
And so the thylakoid is like the actual like line.
Yeah, okay. So thylakoid is like these stacks here. It's called thylakoid. Each one is called a thylakoid. A stack of thylakoids is called a granum. I don't actually even necessarily care that you know that. But what you need to know is inside of this is called inside is called the lumen. Outside is called the stroma. Okay? And the electron transport chain is literally on. And they're all over the place. There are just tons and tons and tons of these. Okay. Very good question. My high hydronium ion concentration is going to be inside of here, okay? Lots and lots and lots of these. This is where my water gets split, oxygen is produced. Now, the one more thing we really need to catch right here is this. Failing, miserable. Why did I do that?
Is the sun setting it?
Huh?
The sun setting it? Sun setting it?
Yeah, light's hitting it. These things are absorbing light. That's what's kicking off those electrons. This doesn't happen in the dark. Nighttime, this shuts down. There's zero photosynthesis happening in the dark. At least zero light reactions. Cacti do photosynthesis in the dark, but that's a whole other thing. We'll talk about that maybe coming up. Okay. If you know that, you're doing good. You gotta know that. Okay? I'll give you drawings. I'll give you one filled out. I'll give you a couple blanks so that you can practice. I'm gonna take a picture. I think this is good. All right. There you go. Okay. You feel good right now? Hopefully. A little less confused. You see the target? You got questions? What's the first step in the light reactions?
What?
What's the first step in light reactions?
Phase 2.
Yeah, what happens? What's the first thing that happens?
The water splits.
Light hits
Light hits the electron
electron, and it starts down a
center. All over the world.
electron transport chain.
Oh, yeah.
How do I replace that electron?
H.
From H2O. It gets split into two things. What are they?
ATP.
O2.
O2 and H plus ions, hydronium ions, right? We're going to use this hydronium molecule at the end.
Synthase.
ATP synthase. Okay, good. The electrons, where do they go? From photosystem 2, they go to?
Process of the
Just look.
photosystem 1.
Yeah, they go to photosystem 1. Where do the electrons from, let me ask two questions. Where do the electrons from photosystem 2, where do they get replaced from? We kind of already asked this question. Where do they get replaced from?
Water.
From water. Where do the electrons for photosystem 1 get replaced from? So not water,
Where was it coming?
from photosystem 1. So when this loses its electron, it gets replaced from this. When this loses its electron, it gets replaced from water. Okay? It's the same electron traveling all the way down. Where do those electrons at? Yes,
You mean
ma'am.
photosystem 2?
Say it again.
You mean photosystem 2?
What do I mean by photosystem 2?
You mean whenever it's in photosystem 1? The
It gets
electrons are replaced by the ones in photosystem 2?
Yes.
Not photosystem 1.
Yes, if I said it backwards, I'm sorry.
Just clarify.
No, it's good. It's easy to mess up, right? Where do the electrons end up? On the light, at the end of the light reactions, where are the electrons?
NADPH.
NADPH. Good. At the end of photosynthesis, where do the electrons end up?
Glucose.
In glucose. Good. What high energy molecule, the energy currency of the cell, is made by the electron transport chain? ATP. Where will that at the end of photosynthesis? You're right about that.
Glucose.
Glucose. CO2, H+, electrons, and ATP, glucose. 3 of these products are made during the light reactions. The only one that's not is the CO2. Right? That's captured during the dark reactions, which will be up next. Okay? What happens when it's dark? Notice. Why?
No light.
To start.
You gotta have light to kick off electrons, right? Why are chloroplasts green?
Because they have chlorophyll.
The chlorophyll. Why is chlorophyll green?
Made that way.
What literally makes it green?
Light.
Yes. Let's keep going with that idea. Huh? No. Okay. It's a piece of white paper, right? What color is this piece of paper when it's dark?
Not light.
It's black, right?
What?
What I just said is true. If I replaced every blue light in here with a purple light, what color will this piece of paper be?
Oh.
Purple. If I replace every light with a blue light, what color? If I replace them all with a red light, what color?
Right.
This white piece of paper, what does it do with each color of light?
It takes it in and
Reflects it. It does not absorb it. This white piece of paper is nearly perfectly reflecting the light that hits it back at your eyes. Okay? Right now, what light is it reflecting back at your eyes?
White.
Huh?
White.
White. There's no such thing as white light. White light, y'all didn't have all this in like earth science, physical science, huh? Okay, that's all right. So white light is all light, all colors of light, the visible spectrum. If I had a prism, which I don't, this is how rainbows work, by the way. Or if you've ever had like a piece of glass that's beveled or cut on the edge, and all of a sudden like you see like this perfect rainbow in it, that's because it's taking that perfectly white light and it's spreading it out into its different wavelengths. And so you see the colors of the rainbow. So white light is all of these colors, okay? Makes sense, right? If I have only one color, and so something that's white is reflecting all light. If I only shine one color on it, you'll only see one color reflected. Green, red, purple, whatever, okay? Why is her shirt green? Why isn't her shirt white?
because of the dye.
Well, okay, tell me in terms of color. Why isn't it white? What does a white shirt do?
Be white.
Reflects what?
White.
All colors, right?
Oh, yeah.
If I had a green light in her, what color would her shirt be? Say green.
Green.
Because what would it be doing with the green light?
Reflecting.
Reflecting it, right? What color would her shirt be in a purple light?
Not green.
Not green, because there would be no green light to reflect. Why isn't her shirt purple right now? There's purple in this light, there's blue in this light, there's red in this light. Why is her shirt not red and purple and white and all these other things? What's it doing with those colors? It's not reflecting them. It's absorbing them. Why is your jacket black? Why isn't it white? It's got the same light coming on it that this piece of paper has. Why is your jacket black and not white? What's it doing with all the colors?
Not reflecting.
It's absorbing them.
So,
Good. Okay? So her shirt is green because it's absorbing all these colors except for
green.
the green it's reflecting. Okay? Why are plants green? What are they doing with green light?
Absorbing.
They're reflecting it. What are they doing with the other light? Absorbing it. What are they doing with that light?
Using it for.
They're doing this. They're doing photosynthesis. But not green light. They can't use green light. Chlorophyll is green because that's the one color it's not absorbing. If I took a plant, and I wanted to like give it a slow, painful death, I could put it in a room and just shine green light on it. And it would just slowly die because it can't use the green. I mean, that just sounds stupid and twisted. You're like, what kind of a horrible person are you? But you get the idea, right? So it's a pigment. Pigments absorb some colors and reflect others. Chlorophyll is a pigment that absorbs almost every color really well except for green. Okay? That's why plants are green. There are other pigments that can be used for photosynthesis, by the way. One of them is purple. You see purple plants or plants with purple leaves? They do photosynthesis. They're using a different pigment than chlorophyll. And actually what's really helpful for plants is if they have a variety of pigments, because then we can use green light and purple light and whatever light. And God's engineered them that way. It's pretty neat stuff. What time is it?
45.
45. Probably don't have time to get anything new and do it. I'm just ready to leave. Go listen to One Direction.
All right.
What is a pigment?
It absorbs all the lights except for one.
Well, maybe not just one, but it absorbs some light and reflects others, right? Okay. If you had roof to your house here in East Texas in the summer, for your energy bill, what's the best color roof you could possibly have?
Brown.
Mm-mm.
Black?
Mm-mm. That's the worst.
Yeah,
Why?
because it absorbs
It absorbs all that energy, and what does it do with it? It heats up the attic, which heats up the house. What's the best?
Why?
Probably,
Never seen a white room.
they do exist. They show everything, right? So people, don't usually have them. But if you wanted to reflect the most light and not absorb it, you would get a white roof. Have you ever been to the hardware store or something like that, or seen, it's OSB, it's a wood product, but it's got a coating of metal over the top of it, like a metal film? No? Okay. It's a thing. OSB, oriented strand board, it's like for the interior siding of houses.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Well, they make some for roofs that have a coating, a silver metallic coating, so that even the light and energy that passes through and the heat that passes through the shingles will get radiated back out instead of heating up the interior of the house. It's not perfect, but it does do a lot.
Expensive.
It's an extra probably a couple bucks per sheet. And, well, there you go. Y'all have a blessed day, okay? Y'all run into let me stop this recording, let me ask you